I'll be sharing from Esther Perel today. This is on desire and love. And you can find, she's got a lot of resources, videos, and literature. She's traveled around researching what it means to be in love or in desire. And when there's a modern context like the civilized societal world, how do we continue to develop the framework with which we look at through perspectives for expectations and partnership and so on. So she says, desire is an expression of our individuality, our free choice, our preferences, and our identity. And that's why we have to own the wanting. We can't pretend that we have desires we don't have, and we can't pretend we don't have desires that we do have. It's literally our free choice. Doesn't mean we act on our desires, but it is a true aspect of ourselves. And to sustain a desire in a committed relationship, for example, to want and to continue to be not prideful and to continue to be humble. And again, owning the wanting is to reconcile the two human needs. She says these in relationship. Committed relationship is already kind of like a oxymoron, because relationship is to keep relating, and to commit is like to not keep relating, to commit in advance. So she's saying security and novelty. How do we bring that open a little? Predictability, safety, reliability, dependability, and permanence is the grounding into the home feeling. So it's predictable. I know they'll be there for me. Safe. I feel like I won't be embarrassed or, exposed by this person. Reliability is that I can count on them. If I'm down, they're not going to step on me, or I can trust them. Dependability is that they'll do what I need, or that they're responsible. And permanence is that they're not just using me for something. They're actually sticking around because of me, not because of what they're getting out of it. And that's what makes us feel at home. Then there's adventure, something that is unexpected, mystery, that it's unknown, and unknown in general, which is that we don't have that sense of security or certainty. There's risk involved, and, it's like a gamble in a sense. Like, should I invest in this person and I may not get anything out of it? Danger. This person might hurt me when I least expect it. And the unexpected, that altogether completely, we don't know exactly what the person's agenda is, what their thoughts and feelings are, if they're hiding it, and how they are going about things is often could be a surprise what actually comes out of it. So that's like about journeying, having a partner on a journey. So we have the home, and then we have like the travel. So when we ask one person, just for those two, but really to be a co-child raiser, a companion, for social status, for succession, like success, and consecutive, and then economic partner, and also a best friend, and also a passionate lover, also a life partner, also someone we can trust and confide in. And it's basically expecting them to replace the whole village if all our belonging, identity, continuity, transcendence, and uncertainty comes from them. So she says, what are we really saying when we have this skewed version of another person, as if they'll fit all the places that we don't have? She says, it's like, give me comfort and edge, give me novelty and familiarity, give me predictability and surprise. So we can't save this, kind of this paradox or the divide with, she writes, she was talking about this. She said, we can't save this with objects. Like, people will try to improve their sex life with lingerie or equipment called toys, or it's really like a crisis. She's saying it's not going to be addressing the root issue. The root issue is a crisis of the desire and the crisis of imagination. So love is to have and desire is to want. So how do you, in other words, we're arriving into this deeper truth, which is that to love it is we have it already, and to desire it, we don't have it. So if we want to know the beloved and minimize the distance or contract the gap, we have, right? That's a neutralizing of the tension. There's closeness. There's even direct contact. Then if we desire, we don't want to go back to the places we've already gone. The foregone conclusion doesn't keep our interest. So now we want the other, the someone on the other side we could go get to visit them and spend time with them and see what goes on in their red light district, kind of like what's their excitement, and not red light district like necessarily shame. Like, there's people, like, we have to hide it. It's more like that's their private excitement. They're othering. Like, we're not, like the taboo, the forbidden, what they're not supposed to. We want to learn about their thrill, kind of. So this is a bridge to cross. Fire needs air, and desire needs space. So in other words, love is to have, there's no space, and desire is space. And we have this and so this is where she's going into love and desire. The question is that we have to ask is, when do you find yourself most drawn to your partner? And this doesn't have to mean sexual attraction. So there's answers here that from her research that I'll share. And she says, when he or she is away, when we're apart, and then when we reunite. That's the highest level of being drawn. When I get back in touch with my ability to imagine myself with my partner, when my imagination comes back into relevance, and I can root it in absence and longing. So being drawn means that there's a distance. So actually people are saying, I feel most drawn when there is that distance, that space. And number two is when she's in the stage, when he's in the studio, when he's in his element, when she's doing something she's passionate about, when I see others drawn to him, when I see her hold court. In other words, when we see the partner radiant and confident without us, there's like they're not holding us at all. We're completely observing. And that's the biggest turn on, is to see, or what is being turned on, a sense of being drawn. So again, this is not necessarily sexual, but it's basically seeing the other person self-sustaining. When we're almost irrelevant, it's like now there's a gap between them needing us, and then we want to make the gap smaller again. That's to have, to love. So looking at them from a comfortable distance, where this person's already so familiar, is momentarily, and so known, is momentarily once again somewhat mysterious, elusive, and with new eyes, seeing them doing their own thing, in which they're enveloped. It opens us up to the shifted perspective of new, because there's no neediness. There's no caretaking, which is obviously very mighty loving. Caretaking is to give, care is to be loving. It's having someone to care for. It's very, very love, but it's not, but it's a powerful not aphrodisiac, because it totally closes the gap. The person needs our care, so there's no gap. So parenthood is like a dependency. It's almost like this erotic charge. Again, it doesn't have to be sexual, but with this excitement toward this magnet is shut down whenever there's a parenthood feeling brought up. And this we would call dependency. It's not, none of this is that we should be all desire or all love. Again, we have to balance the two. So another answer is that to be drawn is when I'm surprised or we laugh together, when the other is dressed up unexpectedly. So there's a sense of novelty here, which is not new positions or techniques sexually, which is a very small-minded way to sort of try to go about it, but actually in the posturing new positions, or in the relating new techniques. So that's what parts of us do we bring out, or what parts are just now being seen, because sex isn't something you do, it's a place you go inside yourself with an other. So where do you go in sex? What parts of you do you connect to? What do you seek to express there? This has to all be done as an inner reflection before you can go in with someone, because you need to be able to arrive to that place first internally. So is it a place for transcendence and spiritual union, to get outside of the material world for a true oneness, even though the bodies are separate, they become one? And that's on the inside. Is it a place for being naughty and safely being aggressive? So this is a way to not cause harm, but to still act out these natural instincts that are biological. Is it a place to finally surrender and not have to take responsibility for anything? Is it basically, can I get a break? Can I just feel good, get away with it without having to pay for it in some way? Not money, but like having to pay for it in some way, or have to be responsible. Is it a place to express the infantile wishes? And that's a really big one, because this avoidance really comes out with somebody who's like an extreme sexual frustration. When we think of a baby, when you take away what they want, they cry. And they're like, I wanted it. So there's this sense of like people exploit this and capitalize this in something called edging sexually. But this is the same idea, that is this the safe place to express the desire for pleasure and direct contact, not have something taken away, or not feel frustrated. And so rather than being able to endure or withstand, and then what comes out of there? It's a language, not just a behavior. So there's something called erotic intelligence. So what comes out there is being sexually transformed is to be humanly transformed. The anticipation is a mortar for desire. So ingredients to cultivate erotic intelligence, because obviously you need to have this... How could you act out your wishes? How could you surrender, not have to take responsibility, or naughtiness, or safe aggression, transcendence, or spiritual union, or express or connect if you don't have some information? This is the capacity for the information is called intelligence. So we might have emotional intelligence, social intelligence, cooking intelligence, creative intelligence. Here it's called erotic intelligence. This is to be transformed by the information transformation. Anticipation is the cement for the desire. So that means there's something that's going to happen. And again, like a baby about to nurse is like already you see them trying to, or like they're already grasping with their mouth for like a nipple. It's this idea that you have to be already like the wanting. So obviously I want to go back for a second to the infantile wishes. In other words, this is the final part, which is that it's nothing that is unhealthy. It's since we're a baby, we desire for something. So in other words, this desire, we're taking out the shame and we're making it safe so that somebody is not going to exploit us for that desire and frustrate us. So it has to be that we're being transformed by the information. If somebody's doing that to us, for example, I'm just using the last example, then it would mean that we're not actually balancing the love and the desire. They're trying to bring it all desire, but there's no having. There's no having that there's no love. So ingredients to cultivate erotic intelligence require imagination, novelty, mystery, and I wrote imagination twice, curiosity, and playfulness. Trauma is when we end up in a hypervigilant state, and that's why I was mentioning the baby a lot, because we end up insecure or infant, untrusting, anxious. We don't feel pleasure very well in that state. Obviously, when we're not imagining, when our imagination is being hijacked to hurt us, we're imagining the worst case scenarios. We're not going to be enjoying ourselves. We're not even going to be curious, open, playful. That's when we don't feel safe to let our guard down or have fun. It could be sexual trauma, but it could be any kind of trauma, an anxious feeling. So connecting with our vitality, aliveness, renewal, vibrancy, and what we call eros, which is like the love energy, desire energy, is what allows for better sex. So clearly the sex is not the answer. It's a result of changing up the sex is not going to change the inner issues there. There's erotic intelligence necessary for the better sex. So I'm going to stop here and continue tomorrow. And I think this also could be helpful even if there's no partner, even if there's no other, because the other here clearly means there's other inside of you. Who are you holding inside of you so far away that is interesting, that you're curious about, that makes you want to be playful? That version of somebody, again, can't be the same person that we're like saying is everything in one. This is our inside other. So I think it's possible to do this kind of conscious, reflective work, even and for self-health, even if there is no partner. Thank you. Bye-bye.